Welcome to this week's episode of the JR&Skipps podcast. Today we're going to be doing some transfer roundup. Right away, let's just jump into the Bruno Guimarães transfer news. So from what we can see, Bruno Guimarães signs for Arsenal in a £75 million swoop. Man, JR, I think this is going to be big things for Arsenal because they're basically bringing up the Brazilian Samba at the Emirates. So what are you saying about Bruno G, though? £75 million for Arsenal?
I don't know why you keep saying 75. I think I saw somewhere it was 120. So first things first, let's I'm just clowning. Anyways, big money signing for Arsenal,
Yeah.
depleting Newcastle squad. People might be arguing and saying he's 29, but these days we like to talk about 29-year-olds like they're about to die or pass out literally any minute from now. Like 29 years old is bringing a lot of experience. His potential is already known. You know exactly what he's bringing to the team, right? So in that sense, I think Bruno Guimarães is a solid addition to the Arsenal squad. Even though the price might be a little bit high, given what other midfielders have gone for in the transfer market, I think is a good piece of business, right? And again, if the money is there, why not spend it if you want to maintain the standards in the squad? So I think it's a good signing for Arsenal. Brings a lot of experience to the middle, and he addresses a problem that I think Arsenal had sometime last season, which was when certain players were overrun or too work, they didn't have the level of quality to come in and give them the same level of competition. I think at a certain point, Arsenal had to use a player like MLS in the middle. No slight to the kid, but when you throw in a 19-year-old in the middle of the pack, you're still banking on potential, right? As opposed to having a player like Bruno Guimarães, who has already plied his trade in that position for years, coming in and, having a point to prove. So kudos to Arsenal for getting it wrapped up. If you had put a gun to my head sometime last season and asked me what was Arsenal's weakness in the squad, I would not have mentioned the midfield, even though every position can be strengthened. I would have maybe leaned towards a little bit the attack or maybe the left side of the attack, to be specific. But you as an Arsenal fan, how do you feel about the signing? Do you think he's the kind of player you need right now? Or are you capping your excitement for now in the sense that you still want to see how the transfer window plays out in terms of if more signings are going to come through? Or, what are your thoughts, Skips?
First of all, though, we did touch on the price tag. I think at £75 million, that's a good amount. As you said, we saw Elliot Anderson go for 116. We've seen Rogers go for 117. Tonali go for 100. So, in my opinion, Bruno Guimarães is better than all three of them. Okay, maybe Rogers might be an exception, but if we're talking about the middle of the park, then Bruno G is better than Tonali and Anderson. And then we talked about his age. This is the first time I'm seeing a player at 28 having a year added to his age because he's signing for Arsenal. So dude is still 28. He's yet to even be 29, but he's already been tagged.
I think he turns 29 next month, right?
No, I think it's in October or November. So he still has
Okay.
like 2-3 months before he turns 29, but he's already been tagged the 29-year-old £75 million midfield signing.
Okay.
Yeah, but to go to your question though, in terms of how he's gonna fit, I think you also hit the nail on the head when you talked about Miles Lewis Kelly being thrown into the Arsenal injury room and having to start the Champions League final for that matter. And also, if we looked at the way Declan Rice played last season, man played almost every game. And even when Zubimendi gassed out and had no energy, as you said, we had to bring in MLS. So what this is going to give us now is the opportunity to actually have different midfield options in terms of who plays 6, who plays 8. And then the good thing about this is we know Declan Rice can play at 6 and can play at 8. And also Guimaraes can play at 6 and play at 8. And Zubimendi can play at 6 and play at 8. And what we're seeing now in preseason is MLS is being tasked with the role of playing a 6. So the way I see it, Arteta is basically trying to make sure that he has midfield options that he can plug and play in either the 6 role or the 8 role. But man, to be honest, what I want to see from Bruno G is Zubimendi on the bench, MLS on the bench as a backup option, Rice in the 6, Guimaraes in the 8, and maybe during the game you can have scenarios where one sits, one goes forward, so they can alternate in that position, and we can play either Odegaard or Eze in the number 10 position. But in my opinion, to answer your question, man, I think he has to start. So Talking about who starts though, what do you think about the Arsenal starting 11 in terms of that midfield option?
With the points being that you want to see Zubimendi now on the bench and Bruno right into the starting 11. I was basically going to ask you, so where does he fit into the team? So okay, I think you already have your mind made up on who's supposed to sit on the bench for him, which is basically a sitting midfield of Bruno and Rice. Huh, that's interesting because I was also going to say I don't think Bruno Guimarães made the move from Newcastle to come and be an option on the bench, right?
Bro,
I'm pretty
true.
sure Ateta must have had to give him some assurances that he would play and he would start for him to make the move, right? Because yes, I understand that Arsenal is are the current champions and there's going to be a little bit of competition, but you cannot expect a 29-year-old who was basically starting game in game out for a Champions
Captain,
League
man.
team. The captain of the team goes to Brazil, being called up to be okay with coming to any shirts in a team like Arsenal. No disrespect to the current midfielder. So now that you're saying Bruno is going to walk right into the midfield, do you think that's going to affect the style of play, or do you think he's a shoe-on fit already, given how Arsenal like to set up?
I personally see him as a shoe on feet, but then we need to also keep in mind that Declan played 65 to 70 games last season if we want to add the World Cup. And then
Okay.
he just probably even returned to London Coney in terms of the England boys. So I don't really expect Declan to be able to hit the ground running. But knowing Declan, he just might do exactly that. But maybe for the beginning of the season, we see a setup of MLS and Bruno G as well as Odegaard in the 10, because maybe that's why MLS has basically played every preseason games, and I think he's had a lot of minutes in the bag. So, and honestly, he's been all right. So just maybe we see Bruno G as a starting option in maybe our first two or first three games, and then eventually we see Declan Rice come in and take his position. But to your point though, man, he has to start, man, because we're talking about someone that was the captain of Newcastle. This is a proper
Exactly.
engine room. All the times we actually faced Newcastle, my concerns was their midfield, bro. Every
Hmm.
time we go to St. James Park, I'm thinking about Joelinton and Guimaraes and Tonali. And now we see Tonali's off to Spurs and we were able to get Guimaraes, which to me
Hmm.
was the main guy in that midfield. So to
Of
have him at
course.
Emirates, man, honestly, I'm just waiting for bigger things to happen because, as you said, just maybe there are more signings to come.
Hmm.
So I think to wrap up this Guimaraes talk though, one thing I'd like us to discuss is his availability. I personally don't have any record of Bruno G getting injured, or just maybe I don't have my facts right. So what are you saying though? Do you think it's someone that is quite durable and can be expected to play majority of the Premier League games and other competitions?
Yeah, I think he's a durable midfielder. And like you said, he's not at the stage or the age yet where he's going to be picking up knocks and taking too
Yeah.
long to recover. Knock on wood, right? Stranger things have happened. He might come into the squad and that could change. But given his history, I don't think he's someone that you're going to worry about his availability. And also, to your point, he's not going to be taxed with playing or starting 50, 60, 65 games in a season, right?
True.
It's going to get to a point where he will be on the bench and he will come in not because he's being benched, but because, you're managing his minutes and you're trying to give other players in the squad who have similar qualities some playing time. So I don't think that should be anything Arsenal fans should worry about in terms of how fit he's going to be or if he's going to be absent due to injury.
Okay, so from what we're saying though, it sounds like we both rate this as a top signing for Arsenal, and I don't think we need to go into that like giving it a over 10 rating, but
Oh, we can, because I'm going to give him a 3.5 over 10. Like,
okay, I'm gonna give my 8.5, man. So I guess we have to wait and see the Premier
yeah.
League stuff in 2 weeks, and just maybe we find out who actually got the better rating and
Oh,
who
for
played the
sure.
role of a hater.
For sure.
Okay. Okay, so in other transfer news though, we can see your favorite guy, Jan Diomande, signed for £120 million for Real Madrid. And if you want to go back to our World Cup band, we talked about you live by the Diomande, you die by the
Yeah, but
Diomande. So
Monday,
are
man.
Real Madrid signing up themselves for a death by the Diomande? What are you saying?
First things first, I don't think Real Madrid is an institution where they will live by Diomande or die by him. Like they are a team of Galacticos, right? In the sense that if they
Yeah,
feel
true.
he is not performing, they will not be tied to the ideology that he has to start because he's a big money signing. They have other players like, if I'm not mistaken, Rodrigo is still fighting for his shirts. We have
True.
Brian Diaz. You have Adagula, players who also want to show that they have something to contribute, right? And they're also young players as well. So I think Madrid signing him was basically trying to get their hands on a potential player who might, explode into something else in the near future. I don't think they are signing him right now based on his current abilities. I mean, he has the facilities, but I don't think he is at the level yet where he's going to come into a team like Madrid and command a starting shirt week in, week out, right? I think, like I said, he's one prospect for the future, which is why I think Madrid did all they could to, snatch him up at this point. And maybe they hope in like 2 or 3 years it will probably be the next big thing on the footballing stage. But I still don't see it yet, but I don't want to sound like a hater. What do you think about the transfer?
To be honest, yeah, if Vini had ended up in Arsenal, then I feel maybe he would have been on the left. But knowing everything I've seen in this transfer talk, there's been talk about him wanting to play on the right side of any team he actually signs for. And if I'm being honest, man, who are the options on the right in Real Madrid? You mentioned Brahim Diaz. I think if you have a fit and firing Diomande, and if he actually is able to live up to the hype, the £120 million hype, then I just think he has a right wing position on lock. And then
Okay.
one more advantage he has is going to be playing for a managerial group like Jose Mourinho. Mourinho is, he has been tasked with the big task of actually struggling and winning the La Liga title from Barcelona, considering their recent domination in the last 2, 3 years. So
Mm-hmm.
I think he has a very good coach that can train him properly, give him the best coaching that he can actually get in terms of world-class standards. And we all know that the Madrid facility is like top-notch stuff. So we're basically talking Diomande, Bellingham, Mbappe, Vinicius. Man, that's the top four that will worry any team
Super
in
athletic, super quick and
bruh,
fast, and
strong, as
physical
you
as
said,
well.
super
Yep.
athletic. So personally, I know we have reservations about Diomande, and one season might not be enough for him to show that he's a world-class superstar. But I just think signing for Madrid might just be the pedestal that pushes him up a notch to that world-class level. And maybe by mid-season, end of season, Diomande is actually a household name. So I'm going to give him props and just maybe and that was negative initially, but I don't think Madrid will pay 120 million for you to just come sit on the bench. They must have
True.
seen big things, and maybe Jose Mourinho has also given his 2 cents as to why he believes that Tumande might be the next big thing to
True.
fire
True.
them to Champions League and La Liga titles. So let's see how the transfer goes, though. But in my opinion, I think he might actually be a very good transfer for Los Blancos. Okay,
Okay.
I did touch upon it earlier. Vini stays, and I know you've been itching to have something to say about Vini staying. So Vini signs to 2032. I guess the Arsenal Samba dream is over. What you say, Maji? Vini stays.
Just a week ago, Arsenal fans were on that Jay-Z, show me what you got, little mama. And then the news came out, and everyone is screaming, "We know you just rocking already, my nigga. The jig is up." Sorry to Rock Nation supporting Arsenal fans. Sorry to you lovers and you dreamers out there. The Samba Maestro stays at Real Madrid. First things first, the delusion from Arsenal fans to think that you could prize an asset like Vinicius away from Real Madrid. And how does it feel to be used like a negotiating tactic, I mean, United have been there before. We fans, I felt it before with Sergio Ramos when he was inching for a bigger deal at Madrid. All you need to do is just drop in a Premier League club that's looking like they are ready to bite, then Madrid do the needful. So I was having fun, watching Arsenal fans, sip that Kool-Aid, thinking that, it was possible to pry an asset like Vini in his prime away from Real Madrid. But I'm happy that, delusions have been shattered and, reality has been restored. And we're understanding that Arsenal are still little bros, when it comes to this thing. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Well,
Over to
all I'm
you.
going to add to that is the time Man U were used as a negotiating tool for Gerard Piqué. That was when you guys were at the top of the English football. So the fact that we're into conversations where we're trying to prize Vinny J from Real Madrid, that just tells you who's the top dog in English football right now. And just so you know, though, the only English team that has been able to prize out superstars from Madrid and Barcelona is Arsenal, in reference to Mesut Ozil signing for Arsenal and Alexis
Oh,
Sanchez signing for
okay,
Arsenal. And we both
okay,
know what they did in the Arsenal team. So,
okay.
couple FA Cups.
Yeah, we know what they both did now. They didn't win the league, of course. We know what they
Yeah,
both
but
did
they
now.
won some trophies. And I get. Okay, okay. So let's wrap it up, though. I hear there's some new banter on the red side of in England. Not Man U, obviously, but I understand Liverpool have agreed a deal to sign Ronaldo Rojo on a 1 year loan. What are you saying about this transfer? Is this just delusion from Iraola, or this might be a magic stroke?
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they've resigned their fate to losing Konate. I
He
don't think
left
he
already,
renewed.
bro. Since yeah,
Yeah, right. So I think it's a stopgap for a player like Konate. I mean,
okay,
for all the bans that we like to throw at Konate, he's a strong, versatile, athletic defender. And I think right now Liverpool probably don't see someone like that in the market that they can break the bank for. So I think they're trying to use Araujo as a stopgap. But to your point, this is someone who is heavily clowned by Barcelona fans for not being in the right mind state or not being up there when it comes to the standards of what is needed to compete at the highest level.
bro.
So maybe Raiola is looking to work his magic, or maybe it's just one of those signings that you have and you hope if they hit the ground running, it's good business, and if they don't, because I think it's a loan with the option to buy. So I think they're just trying to try him out for a year and see if it works out as expected. They could extend his contract, or if not, they fling him back to where he's coming from, and he might have more time to go to Israel for some soul searching.
Man, to be honest, I think this is a serious gamble, man. Any player that leaves FC Barcelona in the middle of the season during a title challenge and talks about going to Israel to find himself, he definitely doesn't have the mental fortitude to play and perform in the Premier League. But just maybe I'm wrong and Iraola knows best. So we're going to be keeping out an eye out on Ronaldo Rojo all season. And bro, you better not mess up because we'll be back right here on the JR&Skipps podcast to drop more bands. Okay, so I think that's been an entertaining session in terms of our transfer roundup. Once again, thanks for connecting with us. And please remember to hit the subscribe button. It's JR_Skipps on Twitter and JR_Skipps_podcast on Instagram. Hey, yo.
Let's go.